back the camera up so we're not close.
Welcome to another episode of
What?
Chiropractic and Coffee.
It's our first episode, so it's
Okay. So today's topic is fasting.
intermediate fasting.
Oh,
Or just actually fasting in general. Just go
fasting in general.
Go Dr. Goldberg on this one.
Specifically intermittent fasting because,
Who are you first?
well, okay, I should say why I'm here. I'm Dr. Daniel Vaden. I'm a chiropractor and health enthusiast.
We're losing battery power. There we go.
This is Dr. Nate Klein.
I'm Dr.
Nathaniel.
Klein. Dr. Klein's my father. Literally.
So today we're going to talk about fasting. And I guess we should start off saying the difference between intermittent fasting and just plain old fasting.
Like
fasting,
the Jesus type of fasting in the wilderness.
Yeah. So like 40 days of fasting is very different than skipping a few hours of eating every day. So the typical model is to have 3 square meals a day, right? Grew up learning that. But when you imply...
You kind of ruined my intermittent fasting by putting creamer in my coffee, though, because that's calories.
I did, but that brings up a good topic about the effects of fats, proteins, and carbs on insulin response and how that relates to fasting and the benefits of fasting.
We'll get into that later. That's the complicated end. Let's make it easy. Like when I was first getting into fasting, it was like no one like told me to do intermittent fasting. It was just like, because I just realized when I ate, I would get tired sometimes. And I'm just like, why don't I just skip this meal? And I noticed I'd have more energy if I ever missed a meal. I'm like, how's this working? It's just like my brain working that way. And then overall, I started like skipping breakfast, pushing my lunch back farther and farther. And sometimes I'd even do something less for lunch, like just putting that whole butter fad, putting butter in your coffee, which people are like, oh my gosh, it's disgusting. But it's that high fat, because you're training your body to go into ketosis, to run on fat. So
yes,
that really helped me have more energy. And I had like this, people always ask, like in these old photos of me when I'm like, got the gut, 30, 40 pounds. And it just kind of fell off as soon as I started doing that. I didn't really do anything different. I was already exercising a lot. It's not like it changed up my routine or anything. It's just pushing that meal back so you're burning off that tough fat. And that's what like made it aware for me. And then talking about like the ketogenic diet, it's like put the science behind what I was already doing. So like first I like make sure it works. So like there's so many diets out there. There's that one time traveling dietitian video. Ever seen that? It's hilarious. Like it's exactly what it was like growing up. So my mother would just feed me soy and tofu, and that's not all she did. She'd probably get mad.
Mother's a fine woman.
My mother's a great woman, but there's a lot of misinformation. It's like constantly changing, and people like don't know who to trust. That's how I was. I'm like, I don't know what to believe, but
yes,
that made me a believer.
I grew up learning to clean my plate. AKA overfeed yourself.
I still do
when
that.
You're not hungry, and never skip breakfast. So basically, I was constantly
most important meal of the day.
Putting food in my body constantly. Yeah, most important. Well, technically, breakfast is the most important, but you don't have to break your fast first thing in the morning. Wait a little bit later in the day. So, I attribute your success to 3 reasons. Number 1, instead of feeding your body and putting it in an anabolic state where it's trying to grow, you're putting in autophagy or autophagy, where basically the body breaks down old, diseased, or malfunctioning cells and tissues and eliminates them from the body. Because if we're constantly putting food in and not giving our gut time to rest, the body will never get rid of those toxins and get rid of those old dead cells. So by giving us a fasting period, it allows the body to essentially catch up and start getting rid of old junk and cleaning things out.
That's the fasting flu. Is that what they call it? The
keto flu?
The keto flu, yeah.
That's different.
Well, that's all that toxins that you're talking about.
Yeah, part of that's the toxins leaving, and then part of that is your body transitioning into learning how to actually burn fat for fuel.
A lot of people struggle with that.
Yes.
I know I do. Like if I eat crappy and then I'm like, I'm going to fast. And I'm like, oh, I feel awful now. And like next day I feel better after you just flushed all that out.
Yes. So it can take several days, not a couple weeks, to actually build the enzymes to help you digest fat, because most of us are carb dependent. We constantly eat carbs and we don't have much fat in our diet because we've been told that fat is so bad for you. And so when you start cutting
Low
carbs
fat.
out and start
No
eating
fat.
lots of fat, yeah, exactly, no fat, then you have to actually build up those enzymes that break it down. So for a while, you're actually not even meeting a lot of your calorie needs when you switch over to a ketogenic diet, because right then you're just in the transition process of becoming a fat burner from being a sugar burner.
And carbs are sugar almost, like as soon as they hit the bloodstream.
Yeah.
So, well, the breads and your wheat and
That's
all
right.
that.
It doesn't really matter whether
People
you're
say
eating
sugar. We got to
whole
redefine
grain
the
wheat
terms here.
or whether you're eating white bread. They're both going to affect your sugar levels and your insulin levels. Insulin is like the gateway hormone to either health or every health problem that you could think of in your body. When your
I
insulin
can think of a
levels are
lot.
constantly high, it's going to create a fatty liver and then a fatty pancreas. And then it's going to affect all the other organ systems in your body. And that's when you have people going into the doctor and they don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know why my blood sugar is so high. I don't know why I don't have any energy. And you look, oh, is it chronic fatigue syndrome? Is it adrenal stress? Is it my thyroid gland? Is it my liver? Is it my
You have a
pancreas?
genetically bad pancreas.
The answer is yes. It's everything, because it's a hormonal imbalance, and the prime hormone in the body that drives all the other processes is insulin. So the problem is we're constantly in a high insulin state. Basically, diabetes is hyper drive on insulin. It's constantly elevated.
You're very eloquent for the morning. Just so impressed. Keep going.
Need more coffee.
Yeah.
Coffee's kicking in. It's, having its effect on me now. So
I should have brought the pot over here so
can
I
you
can
define
refill you.
intermittent fasting for us, Nate?
So intermittent fasting is when you're eating only within a certain period of days. So you're not doing your traditional 3 meals. You're either putting it back to 2 meals or how many meals you want. It's just you're eating more in like a 10-hour period. So that's giving your body a longer time to fast. So like when you go to sleep, you're fasting, but then we break that fast in the morning when we wake up. We're like, we got to start ourselves with something healthy to get us going. It's the most important meal of the day because that's what you're feeding your body right away. That's what I always taught. That's kind of like what science still teaches, is get something good in there. And right around midday, I get tired. I eat lunch and I really get tired. We get like a headache and fatigue, and then come home, and then I have all this energy at night, and it's confusing. I'd stay up late. So instead of that, I just push breakfast back. And so like yesterday, I didn't even eat lunch or breakfast. I think I had just like a green tea latte because we had our meeting. And other than that, I didn't eat till I think 6:30 or 7. Yeah, because I had my spinal stability class, which, by the way, you should go to. Subscribe to our, I don't know, we have many channels now. Rimrock Wellness Center and Greater Exodus. Please subscribe. Just please do it. For me, it's my birthday. I have to subscribe.
Happy birthday.
Anyways, yeah, I didn't eat till 7. And what's great is I just love to eat. He's the science. I'm like a practical guy. It's like, I just want to feel full. And like my fiance always makes fun of me. It's like, you just eat so much. I'm like, I know that because I skip meals so I can eat all I want right now. In your stomach, it shrinks. So you're not going to eat as much as you normally could.
Right.
If it's constantly expanded like that with multiple meals, because unless you eat, it's going to.
Right. It's the sensation of feeling full.
Yeah,
and
satiety
satisfied.
happens easier.
Yes. Well, that's one of the benefits, is that if you employ intermittent fasting, you can then go and have a light or moderate sized later lunch and then a giant dinner. Okay. And so people will look at you and they'll be jealous. They'll be like, how can he eat that giant meal and still be so thin or whatever?
And you don't have to do it that way. Like, that's just how I do it. If you love breakfast, you eat in the morning, eat your breakfast, eat your lunch, skip dinner. I would never do that. And I like my late night snack too. Yeah. So like that's something sometimes I'll skip lunch, is like thinking about like, oh yeah, it's gonna be great. And then I have conversations with my food. Like I look at people eating food. I'm like, you're just gonna make me tired. You're gonna make me fat, and you're not gonna do what you're supposed to do. So I'm just gonna avoid you. And then like I feel better.
Yes.
So
that's exactly
that's the internal war that happens there.
Right. So a lot of people have concerns. Well, if I fast, am I going to faint? Am I going to die? Am I going to screw up my hormones. What's going to happen to me? I need that boost of sugar in the morning.
To understand, Daniel, I have to have breakfast.
Yes, I have to have my Wheaties. And that's really just something that can be overcome within a few days, because our bodies are just used to that cycle. You're used to waking up and then putting sugar in the system and constantly driving that insulin up. Now, why is that? It's because we're insensitive to insulin.
Mhm.
So we're insensitive. So it takes a lot more insulin to have its normal effect in the body. So basically we become addicted to sugar. Okay. And then we constantly have to have that sugar drive. So a lot of times people do get up in the middle of the night for that midnight snack because they're so insulin insensitive that in the middle of the night their blood sugar drops because their body's not used to being
deficit
able to sustain normal levels.
It's never going to burn the fat. It's like, oh, the calories are down. We need more calories.
More sugar.
You're constantly running on calories. A lot of toxins being created with that.
So if you train your body to start using fat, it will be able to sustain itself. And this just takes a few days to do. Maybe your first couple of days of intermittent fasting are tougher, but after that, it starts to become very, very enjoyable. Now, when you go into an intermittent fast, most of the time you can drive your body into a state of ketosis. And what that word means is that basically you're starting to burn or metabolize fat cells for energy. And so your body breaks them down into ketones and uses those ketones for energy. And right now, the ketogenic diet is a huge thing. It's very, very popular. So a lot of people have concerns about it, and they say that it's just a fad. But here's the truth: is that most mammals, when mammals go into hibernation in the wintertime, they're storing up all these nuts and seeds that they eat and then save because they don't have access to all the other things that give them carbohydrates. They're hibernating, they're sleeping for a season, and their body actually goes into a deep level of ketosis, and that's how it sustains them. And then when they wake up in the springtime and summer and they start eating all these fruits, you see all the fruits give them the fructose, that fruit sugar, which helps them to store body fat in preparation for the wintertime. So if we think about it, it's actually the high sugary foods that tell the body to save and store fat to prepare for a time when you don't have access to this so that you can survive.
I think a lot of red flags go off here because people are like, oh, this is the Atkins diet again. And it's like, oh, I can just eat whatever meat I want. And
right.
All that saturated fat. And it's like, not all fats are created equal. And that's the thing that we need to understand.
A common misconception, because the Atkins diet is just low carb. The ketogenic diet is specifically low carb, moderate to low protein, and very high fat. So what happens is if you're on...
I get fat without protein, Daniel.
Yes, you do need some protein, but not that much. In fact, when you go into ketosis, your body initiates a protein sparing process. So people think if I don't eat protein, especially in gym lore, right? They say, oh, you got to have protein, basically drink protein powder at the gym. But what happens is when you go into ketosis, your biochemistry changes and your body actually will spare the amino acids in the body more than it would usually do. So you need less protein and you're becoming very, very efficient at burning fat for energy. So the Atkins diet, you can have as much protein in as you want. The ketogenic diet, you actually moderate that level, because here's what happens. If you have low carb intake and high fat intake, but you also have high protein intake, your body takes that protein and turns it into sugar. Mm-hmm. So you still may not get into ketosis. So the real key is to have high fat intake, moderate to low protein, and very low carb. Now, we're not saying you have to do a ketogenic diet, okay? I'm not doing a ketogenic diet. I phased in and out of ketosis. Yeah. I enjoy that. But what we are saying is that when you go into intermittent fasting, have your cheat days. When you go into intermittent fasting,
cheat days.
You're actually going to drive your body into ketosis. Many people may not get there at first, but over time it'll start to do that. And what it will do is it will start to balance out your insulin levels and increase your sensitivity to insulin again. See, drugs will never do that. Drugs will never increase your sensitivity. It takes a lifestyle approach to change that insulin levels, which is why people come in and they want a supplement, a pill, they want an exercise program, a medication, something that is going to fix their thyroid problem or their fatigue issue.
enough, then you should try this pill.
Talk to your doctor to see if medications for the rest of your life is right for you. And
see, I was aware of the brainwashing when I was a kid, because my parents always tell me they're lying to you. I'm like, oh, they're lying? I thought they were being nice and helpful.
Yeah,
I like conspiracies.
Yes, you do like
conspiracies. Well, like as you were talking, I'm like, didn't the Atkins guy, the creator, die of like heart disease, or did we just make that up? I don't know. Because of all that saturated fat, it's like,
oh, right.
Because they just eat all the protein they want. It's like, have all the bacon you want. I'm like, I remember that. I'm like, sounds good.
Well, and
now that I'm Torah, I know, no bacon, turkey bacon. It sounds good.
That's right. It's true. Saturated fat is not the enemy, though. In fact, your body prefers saturated fat. Saturated fat is the strongest fat. It doesn't break down easily. Okay, so that's like why you cook with coconut oil, because it has a high smoke point. It's not going to break down.
Like
so your body
olive oil will break down.
It likes that in its tissues. Now, the monounsaturated fats are much weaker, and they will actually break down quicker. They're much more susceptible to free radical oxidation. So saturated fat your body prefers, and contrary to some myths, saturated fat doesn't clog your arteries. Its melting point is lower than the body's internal temperature, so it's always a liquid state within your body. It's not going to clog your arteries.
It's like coconut oil. When you have it at room temp, it actually kind of liquefies.
Yeah.
Or if it gets colder, it's hardened.
Exactly. So inside your body, it's never a solid. It doesn't cause plaque on your arteries. The plaque is actually just the body's own self-defense mechanism to repair inflamed arteries, namely from high sugar and poor insulin sensitivity. So the real key here is getting your insulin sensitivity.
Plaquing is coming from the carbs.
That's exactly right. So
what about trans fats? Those are good, right?
Yeah, no.
I don't know. They're man-made, Man knows what they're doing.
That's a good point, is that a lot of people have used research against saturated fats, but they don't disclose that in those research papers, they were using trans fats. They were using hydrogenated fats. So what they did was you could take coconut oil, which is a saturated fat, and then you hydrogenate it, which changes its molecular structure into something that's harmful to your body. And then you do a study, and the study comes out and says, coconut oil is bad for you. Saturated fat is bad for you. But it was a trans
from like biochemistry. When we're talking about like saturated fat, monosaturated, or hydrogenated, it's all about how easily is this chemical bond broken down by your body. Because if it's not, that's what like the clogging and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Hydrogenated actually can have a stronger bond than those covalent bonds that saturated fat will have.
That's exactly right, which is
like
why
that,
they
like that covalent.
Yes,
word drop.
That was very smart. I didn't
even
know what you're talking about.
Be proud.
What is that?
You had so many big words. I had to throw it in there.
Yes. So a couple points. People are worried about. Well, I like to work out in the first thing in the morning, and if I'm fasting, I can't work out while I'm fasting.
You need food to work out.
Yeah, you don't need food to work out. In fact, your body is primed to get up and go first thing in the morning and work out in a fasted state. You'll actually have more energy. You'll lift better. You'll perform better. Now, the first time do it, it might feel a little weird. You might be a little shaky. A lot of that's hydration, electrolyte balance, and most of it is just blood sugar control and insulin response because your body's not quite adapted yet. So I would do a few days of intermittent fasting and then start doing your fasted exercise. They know that training while fasting produces a 21% increase in fat oxidation. That means you burn 21% more fat if you're working out while you're fasted.
Yeah. And I've like done 3-day fasts, and I get shaky on like the third day. So like you'd still, and I'm like, not like I was on vacation. I was always, I think the first time I was in school, So it was like, you're sitting, but like that's a lot of mental work. And then the third one I did when I was actually working. So it's not like I was just laying there. I was actually working, using my body, and still having enough energy for those 3 days.
Yeah. Well, what they've also shown is that when you work out fasted, your blood sugar doesn't drop after the workout. Mm-hmm. But when you work out after eating carbohydrates, your blood sugar will drop. So the funny thing is,
the office, Michael's eating the pasta while he's running the marathon.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think you understand.
So yeah, you don't really want to carb load. In fact, there's a new trend in marathon runners. Rather than carb loading, they're fat loading because they know that's actually going to sustain them in the long run. They're not going to have that.
We should invent fat water.
Fat water. They actually do have.
It's called coffee.
Yeah, coffee. So when you work out fasted, your blood sugar is sustained longer versus when you work out after eating carbs, your blood sugar will drop. That's why you get home after a workout and all of a sudden all you want is this really, really sweet tasting protein shake or a fruit smoothie. Right?
Hi, Jill.
Yay, we have
one watcher.
And so that fruit smoothie is doing that. You're craving that right after you work out because your blood sugar just dropped.
Just gonna disappear right as soon as I said hello.
Sorry,
continue.
It's okay. So when I work out fasted, which I almost do all the time, I have lots of energy. I never feel fainty, and I never come home and I'm just like starving for food. In fact, I'm good for a while.
How come you serve your cats breakfast? You're such a hypocrite.
I know, because if I don't, they will whine at me.
I know, but that's how humans are. We whine too.
That's hard. It's like control their
as soon as you get that caloric deficit and you're like, oh, I want to eat, your body's craving the carbs, it's craving food. You go past that. Just give yourself a little bit of time and it's like, ooh, energy, I'm good to go.
That's right. If you wait and if you say
push it back a little,
hang on a little bit longer, what you'll find, there's a difference between a craving and hunger. That's one thing that we have to learn is
need and I want.
Hunger? Yes, what's hunger and what's a craving? And we've been conditioned to think that craving is hunger. When in actuality, it's not. Take a second and think to yourself, when you have that craving, am I really hungry or is it a craving?
I've had this battle with coffee actually recently. I'm like, I don't need you. I don't. It's just I enjoy it. So
vitamin coffee.
Yes. That was vitamin T. Yeah. That was awful.
But yeah, I mean, if you're thinking, oh man, I'm really hungry for a bowl of ice cream right now, but then you say to yourself, could I eat a potato or could I eat a salad right now? And you're like, ugh, no, you're not really hungry.
Oh, that's a good point.
You're just craving.
Yeah.
You're craving that sugar. So good rule of thumb there.
That's good doing this. Like when you do more intermittent fasting, you can handle some stuff like that later on. Like even getting outside the ketogenic diet, like having carbs every once in a while. Like I'm slightly, gluten intolerant. I know like gluten's like the buzzword, it's bad, but like when growing up, I didn't understand like all like the cramping and how the bad reactions I'd get from. And it was just like my body and that, that goes back to that gut lining being worn down. So actually, once you've healed your gut and it's able to handle those foods, you can handle some wheat every once in a while. It all depends on the quality. It's less about the gluten and more about the processed foods. It's that stuff that's hard for your body to break down, hard for your gut to break down. That's what all that putrefaction comes from, and that junk that we get that destroys our mucus lining.
A lot of people that are sensitive to gluten or dairy or things, it's just that their gut lining is inflamed all the time. And the actual membranes are opened up so much that those little molecules get in. What happens if you start giving yourself gut rest, your membranes start to heal and close up. And
I know Jill's listening to this.
You can handle foods better. So a lot of people just need to give themselves gut rest and heal their gut. So I guess in practicality speaking, what does intermittent fasting look like? Well, have an 8 to 10 hour window during the day that you eat. And the rest of that 24 hours,
slam on the table.
You don't eat.
You're making the mic shake.
Oh, I'm sure I am. That's all right. So, and then one other thing is that, well, what will break my fast and what raises insulin? I want to point out that fat has the lowest insulin response. Okay. Which means if you eat fat, you're going to raise insulin a little bit. If you eat protein, you're going to raise insulin a good amount. If you eat sugar, you're going to skyrocket your insulin. Okay. So if you're thinking, what's the best way to break my fast? Fats. Slowly
Delicious fats.
breaking that fast and increasing insulin. That's another thing is that, well, what if I wanted to have just
Unless you fasted over 3 days.
just some creamer in my coffee? What if I wanted to just put some whole cream in there? Well, you're not going to get as great of a benefit as you are from just black coffee, which, by the way, you can do black coffee for your fast.
Yeah, it's like 0.5 calories.
Yeah.
So is tea.
You can do black coffee and tea.
And I believe water is 0 calorie.
Water's good too. We recommend water.
We'll try to keep it under 30 minutes. So closing thoughts here.
Yes. Closing thoughts are if you're one of those people that you just need to have your coffee in the morning, you need to have your something in your coffee, you're a creamer type guy or girl, then opt for just whole cream. It's going to have the lowest response on your insulin. And then once you get used to doing that, then maybe try doing water or just doing black coffee. The point is, you don't have to become a health guru overnight.
Yeah, no, experiment with your body because everyone's different. And I've heard people say like, no, coffee and tea, you got to push that back as well. And I used to do that too, but like it's hard to like wait till like 1 to have your coffee.
Right.
Because then you're like, I finally get to have my coffee, but I don't even need it.
Yes, exactly. That's the difference between a diet and a lifestyle change, because lifestyle change points you in the right direction, gets you going in a better direction that's going to improve your life and something that you can actually sustain over time. So
pick your battles.
Pick
Just
your
like
battles.
Relationships, food relationship.
Pick your battles.
It's just easier to go without, I've noticed.
Yeah.
I have more energy and lost a lot of weight. And I haven't felt like it's affected my exercise. And all your friends will be like, dude, what are you doing? You can't go work out on an empty stomach. What's wrong with you?
I love it now. I do best on an empty stomach.
I used to do cross training, like really intense workouts, after fasting.
Yeah. So
recovery too. I feel like you recover much better, especially when you're beating up your muscles like that. Is that you got more notes here? You got 3 minutes.
Exercise while fasting. This is from Dr. Don Klum. Exercise while fasting preserves muscle fibers, decreases intramuscular lipids, and post-glycogen synthesis increased 300%. Okay, so, and then post-exercise glucose intake raises insulin almost 50% more in fasting group. Okay, so the point is that when you exercise, it has a preserving effect on your muscle fibers. So the myth that you have to have protein right after you work out is a complete myth. It's not true. In fact, you can go for several days, probably around 7 to 8 days of pure fasting before your body will start to break down muscle tissue. The feeling that you get when you fast for a couple days and you feel like you're weak and you're burning muscles, actually just fluid leaving your body because the carbohydrates retain the fluid. So it's just a fluid difference. It's not actually muscles being burned up.
It's your muscles just wasting away.
And there's really no need to have post-workout sugar. Okay, you don't need to restore your glycogen or anything like that. Your body is going to pick that back up on its own. You just
for me, I always think about like ancient man. I think ancient man was waking up, getting a bowl of cereal. And it's like normally they have it like
right.
Hunter and gatherer society. They have a big meal. They caught that deer or whatever.
You know what they call them?
Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Right? They were the original people with abs, 6-pack abs.
Such a bad joke.
They're so healthy.
I feel like it's a culturally insensitive joke.
So yeah, we want to be.
Anyways, they'd have one big meal, and they'd be good for. They maybe go 1 or 2 days and just gorge themselves on what and they have nuts and berries in between.
Mm-hmm.
Well, ultimately, that's what they did, and then as soon as we started becoming farmers, agricultural society, somebody came up with breakfast.
Yes.
I don't know who that person is. I feel like it's the Illuminati that came up with breakfast.
I'm pretty sure it was like the cereal industry, like Kellogg's.
That's true. It's like why we buy diamond rings now. It's just
My phone was listening to me.
diamonds just weren't popular, and people are like, we should just put them in movies, and all of a sudden brainwashing him. I should have breakfast. Think about how many cereal commercials you watched as a kid.
Yeah.
Right. We're all trained to want. How did this get to conspiracies?
Slow down, Nate.
Well, we're at 30 minutes.
All right, cool.
The next video I wanted to do was on children and spinal stability. So when you're subscribed to our channels, you see a lot of videos on spinal stability, strengthening your spine. And just we're going to talk about what we've been seeing in the past 5 years since we've been working on kids, a lot of kids, what we're seeing there as far as how these spines are not being developed properly. And that could be, I think, a lot of ways related to food, but also biomechanics, how we're moving.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to dig into that a little bit, whenever
right.
that is, probably
Sounds good.
next Thursday.
All right.
We'll see you then.
Cheers,
been
mate.
Coffee and Chiropractic with Dr. Klein, Dr. Vaden. Actually, there's nothing in here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
this
just doing that for the camera. Yay.
Yeah.